So let's talk about knight. I find knight the most dangerous piece, especially during endgame or when I am in time crunch, because I always struggle to figure out where the knight will go, whether it's my knight or my enemy's knight. I'm always scared, I'm paranoid that I will hang my piece, or maybe enemy's knight is going to fork my queen and king, or maybe rook and king, or maybe king and queen. So I'm always wary of where the knight goes, and for the longest time it was impossible for me to quickly figure out where the knight would which squares the knight would capture or which squares the knight would attack. So I had a revelation just a few days back while I was trying to solve some puzzles on Lichess. These were puzzles involving knight, and I figured out something. Now I'm not claiming that I have come up with a brand new discovery or anything, but I think this is going to help you, especially if you're someone like me, a beginner in chess, and you are trying to understand how the knight moves and to quickly calculate if a knight is going to help you attack your enemy, or if your enemy's knight is going to basically fuck you in endgame. So take a look at this knight. So this knight is in a black square, and the fastest way to calculate the squares which the knight will jump to. So if the knight is in a black square, it will only jump to white square. So this is an easy way to eliminate any possibility. Say for example, your piece is in a black square and your enemy's knight is in also a black square. So then your enemy's knight cannot attack you, because the knight will only jump to a different color square. So like you see here, a black a knight on black square will only jump in white, and it creates this kind of an octagon. If you can just keep this picture in your head, then I think it's very easy to calculate all the squares where your enemy's knight is attacking. It's basically a octagon, equidistant octagon, right? The knight is at the center. It's the opposite color. So for example, if we go to a white, so this knight is in white square, and now the octagon is all the black pieces here. Now this may sound obvious to some of you guys, especially people who are intermediate or advanced chess players. I think you guys must be thinking like, this guy is a complete moron, right? He's telling us the obvious, like 1 + 1 is 2, and this may be obvious to a lot of you, but this was not obvious to me. This is something that I just discovered, and I was like, wow, I'm a visual guy, right? It's difficult for me to calculate moves, but if I can see a pattern, a visual pattern, I'm able to memorize it faster. So this is a much easier pattern for me. If your knight is in white square, it can only capture black squares, and the black squares that it can capture is this nice octagon. I found something even more interesting. So if this sounds trivial to you, then check this thing out. So here you see all these squares here, right? So what I have done here is I'm looking at my knight. So right now my knight is in a black square, and I'm looking at what squares my knight is going to attack after I move it. So all the blue squares, these are the potential squares which my knight can attack. So what do I mean by that? Let's talk about this square, the one here. So can my knight attack this square? The answer is yes. So my knight can jump here and then attack this square. And my knight can also jump here and attack this square. These are all the squares that my knight can attack. And if you see, you realize that the knight is pretty much covering the entire chessboard. And the pattern here is, if your knight is in a black square, it's going to attack a black square, because it will jump to white square and then it will attack a black square. So this is again an easy way you can remember. Like if your opponent's queen is in a white square, then your knight cannot attack that queen, because your knight will jump to a white square and it can only attack black squares. So that's an easy way to rule out something. So say for example, you are worried that your enemy's knight is going to attack your queen, or maybe it will fork your king and queen. Now if your king and queen are both in white square and your enemy's knight is in black square, then you don't have to worry, because your knight will not be able to attack white square. And similarly here, if it's in white, then it's going to only attack white squares. Now which squares it attack, the easier way to remember is to actually look at it the other way. So instead of worrying about which squares my knight can potentially attack, think in terms of which squares my knight cannot attack. And this becomes very easy. So if you look here, if your knight is in black square, there are only 5 squares on the board which it cannot attack. So what do I mean by that? If my knight is here, it can never attack this square. So for example, it might go here and then it can attack this square. It can go here and it can attack this square, or it can attack this square, or it can attack this square, but it will never be able to attack this guy here in red. That way you can quickly, eliminate the squares which your knight or your opponent's knight cannot attack. And this is also a very nice pattern. It's actually a square. So just make a square around your knight, and those 4 squares your knight will never be able to attack. And then there is another one, which is this one. So the other way to remember this, and I think this is an easier way, is to just look at the diagonal. So look at the diagonal for your knight, and there are only 2 diagonals, and on that diagonal look at the alternate squares are the one where your knight cannot attack. So if you are here, say d4, then you cannot attack f6 and you cannot attack h8. So this is very easy to remember, right? Don't you agree, guys? At least for me, now again, some of you might be thinking, wow, this guy is just, telling us that water is wet. It's obvious. But this was not obvious to me. So now with this trick, when I play games, I am way more confident, because say for example, my enemy's queen is in this square and my knight is here. Now I know that my knight cannot jump to any square and threaten my enemy's queen. If my enemy's queen is here or here or here or here, like any of these 5 squares, then I know that my knight cannot attack the queen. So this is a very easy way for me to figure out. Just look at the diagonal, right? So when you are playing a game, just look at the 2 diagonals, and alternate square is the one which is out of your reach. And the same thing applies for the white piece. If your knight is in a white square, then your diagonals are going to be, white color diagonals, and the alternate ones are out of reach of your knight. So with this simple visual, algorithm, I don't know what to call it, picture, I guess, you can, be more confident with your knight and also with your enemy's knight. And I think this is going to help me a lot moving forward when I'm playing a game, especially when I'm like in the end game or later half of middle game, and maybe I'm running out of time, which happens a lot because I tend to play slow. So I'm always struggling to manage my time, and knights are the pieces that always fuck me. Some of you might be like, hey, this is obvious, but guys, for me this was not obvious. This is only something that I was able to realize this when I was solving puzzles on Lichess, and while I was trying to figure out where the knight will jump, which square it will attack, is when I came to the realization that hey, there is actually a color coordination. Let me recap. Your knight will jump to alternate colors. So if it's in black square, it will only go to white square, and all those white square form this nice octagon. Similarly, if you are on white square, you will go to a black square, and again it's a nice octagon. If you want to find out which squares it will attack after it makes a jump, the easier way is to come up with this picture. It will jump to white, so it will attack black, which means the knight will attack the square of the same color, and it will pretty much cover the entire chessboard except these 5 squares, and all these 5 squares are on this nice diagonal. So you just draw a diagonal, and every alternate square on that diagonal is the color that the knight cannot reach. So that way you can calculate very quickly whether you can formulate a tactic to capture or attack your enemy's piece, or maybe some more complicated tactic involving pinning or forking or something like that. So yeah, that's all I wanted to share in this video. Guys, I am a beginner. I just crossed 700. Now I'm 715 on chess.com. So I'm still learning, but I wanted to share this because I think this will help at least some of you. Even if one person finds this video useful, I think my job is done. I literally jumped out of my chair when I saw this pattern, right? This was something that was really stumping me. I was struggling to calculate how knight moves, and now I have a visual, picture in my brain. So now I know how I can quickly calculate whether a particular square is under threat or not. So if you thought this video was useful, please share it with your chess loving friends. Let's spread this knowledge. And if it's already a known thing, and if I'm the moron who just figured out something which everybody else already knows, then it's fine, right? Maybe just drop a comment and say, yeah, I already knew this. But if you did not know this, or maybe you never thought about it in a pictorial sense, you had like a sort of an idea in your head, but you did not see the pattern, then let me know in the comment section. And next, why don't you click over here and watch this video? And I will see you guys again in my next one. Bye.